How do you decide to make decisions for you and your business as a business owner out of confidence rather than fear? That's what I'm going to dive into today. No, I am not a psychologist. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not technically a business coach. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty. I'm just going to share with you the lesson that I've been learning and applying to my life recently because I think it's going to help you. Before I dive into all of that, though, if we haven't met before, my name is Caitlin. I run Launch the Damn Thing. I am a web designer. I turned into first I was a graphic designer, then I turned into a website designer, then I turned into a Squarespace educator, and now here I am sharing my opinions and my expertise and my life experiences with you here on the channel. So I hope this is helpful for whatever that's worth. All right, so let's talk about how to make decisions out of confidence rather than fear. This is actually talking about what I call, or what is called, scarcity mindset. This is making decisions out of a fear of a lack of abundance, right? This is making a decision that is ultimately based on a fear that you have of whatever the situation is. So let me give you a personal example. I think I bought my previous laptop in 2019-ish. By 2022, it was no longer serving me. The model that I had purchased was not ever designed to handle video editing. And in 2022, I started a lot of video editing and I needed a more powerful machine. So I did what all designers do. I go look up the latest and greatest computer, and I discovered it would cost me in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $5,000 to buy the thing that I wanted, the thing that I felt like would give me the most bang for my buck. But here's the thing. The initial price point estimate that I built for myself when I went to Apple, because I only use Apple products for computing specifically, actually for everything. I can't ever see a world in which I decide, oh, I want to use Android now. Anyway, that's a totally different topic. But when I was building the computer that I thought I wanted, I had the max amount of, not the max, more than I knew I needed in space for file storage, for memory, and for power, basically. So if you stack things like that on top of each other in a custom build, it's going to cost a lot of money. So then when I saw that number, the first thought that I had was, do I actually need that right now? Or could I get by with less? That's a valid question when you're talking about thousands of dollars in price difference. So I did a lot of research. This is back when the unified memory or whatever, the new silicone-based memory chips were relatively new still. And so I was looking at an M1 chip, I believe or M1 Max, M1 Pro is whatever it was at the time. And what I didn't know is, could I get by with the Pro for my purposes, or did I need the Max chip size, whatever? And so I did a lot of research because I wanted to make a good decision. I wanted to make an informed decision. But here's where that kind of broke down. I realized that the time and energy I was spending in the research of this was ultimately coming from a place of fear. If I go back to the very first Mac that I purchased myself, which is 2007-ish, that Mac that I purchased, I bought the best specs I could afford at that time, the very, very best, probably a little bit even outside of my own budget range, because I knew that that computer had to last me a good 5 or 10 years. So basically, that's saying I'm going to buy the best that I can right now that will get me the longest, because I'm afraid that I won't be able to buy a better one in the near future if I find out that I need it. That's where this decision was coming from, even in 2022 or whatever, when I was buying my last MacBook. So when I realized this about myself, I was like, wait a minute, is that true? Can I not afford to buy another one next year if I realize this one's not good enough? Yes. The answer is yes. This is out of habit, not out of an actual fear. So I share that to say this happens to the best of us. And sometimes it's just a habit because that's what we're used to. I'm still using my college brain. I'm still still making, I don't know, $6 an hour, right? This is how I used to think back then. So it was a big deal to spend that kind of money when you only make $6 an hour, but I don't make $6 an hour. And if I need to buy a different computer next year, I'll probably sell the one that I currently have or sell the older one that we have and give that one to my husband. That tends to be how it works in our house. And I will buy another one. It is not the end of the world. And as an entrepreneur, you are also not tied to the whims of your employer, meaning if you need more money, there are lots of options available to us in order to generate that at or on demand. It's not that we're genies, it's not that we're magic, but basically you can't do that in any other career. If you are working for someone else, the only way you can make more money is to essentially get a raise or change your position in the company or get recruited into a different company, right? Those are basically your only options. If you're an entrepreneur, you can create a new product. You can raise your prices. You can get a new client. There's tons of things that you can do to earn that money, and not all of them are crazy difficult. So that's what I realized in that moment. I am still out of habit operating from a place of fear, and I do not always need to do that. This is also part of my Enneagram 6, where I'm thinking about problems. I don't really want to buy a $5,000 computer every other year. That's dumb. Why would I do that? As long as it is still continuing to work for me, there is no reason to buy a new machine very frequently. But if I needed to, the problem is not a problem. I can buy another one. So this is a muscle ultimately that you will learn to build and sculpt and get strong, like make it stronger over time. It's going to take time and effort and practice in order for you to get better at recognizing when you're doing that. The whole reason why I'm talking about this today, though, the reason why this is important and how it affects you as an operator or CEO in your business is because you can't make all of your decisions from a place of fear. If you do that, you are playing too small, which is basically like saying you're playing not to lose. So if you're aiming for second to last place because you don't want to be last, guess what you're not going to do? You're never going to be first, and you're never going to be second, and you're never going to be 10th. That's just playing not to be a loser, which means you're not at the same time planning to be a winner. So you can't expect to these things don't fall into our lap. You can't expect to win if you are not playing to win. You're just playing not to lose. This is something that I heard from the ages ago when I listened to the Screw the 9 to 5 podcast, which I don't know if it's still around, but for years I listened to Jill and Jonathan. I can't remember her husband's name. Anyway, doesn't matter. That was something they said. You were playing not to lose. And that really stuck with me because they are absolutely right. We do not make the same types of decisions, forward-thinking, inspirational, visualizing decisions with confidence if we are afraid we're going to fail. We just don't. That's not how our brain works. If we're only focused on failing and preventing the failing, then we're not going to make the same types of decisions that we need to make in order to win or succeed. That's just how the world works. So if you are trying to succeed, if you're trying to get better at doing something, if you're trying to get positive results, you don't want to be focused on the negative. So the practice here is to make mental adjustments when you start making these decisions. And I don't talk about this from a standpoint of denial. That's not what we're talking about here. I am not making the decision to buy a $10,000 computer because tomorrow I could be a millionaire. That is not what we're talking about here. Just for full transparency, just to be 100% clear, that's fucking stupid. Don't do that. What I am talking about here is making a strategic decision based on your goal, and that goal can't be focused on just not failing. That goal has to be positive. If you put all your thoughts and effort into positive things, you tend to get more positive results. If you tend to focus all your energy and on escaping negativity, you're going to tend to get negative results. That's just kind of that's some sort of law in physics, right? It says the designer who's never specialized in science. Okay, anyway, point being, what we're talking about here is making decisions from a place of confidence because you know what you're capable of and you know whether or not you can figure this out. And that tends to be an entrepreneurial thing, right? If you are a true entrepreneur, you tend to be like, yeah, I can probably figure that out. It doesn't matter that 1,000 other people have tried this and it hasn't worked. I feel like I can figure this out. I can probably figure this out. I will figure that out. It takes a while, but you can get there. It is a risk, yes, but that's kind of the whole thing, right? That's built into what we do. I think the entrepreneurial spirit is that we like being able to tackle that risk. We like being able to fix problems. We like being able to address problems. We like the freedom that gives us when we are successful. We don't really like being told what to do. And so don't be the sort of like devil's advocate to the situation if it's going to make you focus on plan B. There's a reel, I don't remember if it was actually on Arnold Schwarzenegger's account, but it was him. So it's a snippet of some talk he was giving. And he basically said, you don't want to act on plan A and have a plan B, because as soon as you have a plan B for not failing, as soon as you have a plan B, you are now focused on two things. You are focused on plan A, but no matter how much you focus on plan A, your mind knows that there's a backup plan. That's where the saying comes from, like burning the bridges. If you burn the only bridge that gets you from this island to the next island, there is no backup plan. You have to make plan A work. So what Arnold was saying basically was don't have a plan B some situations you have to have one, but for business strategy, for acting in confidence, for not acting with scarcity, you really don't want to focus on your plan B, because if you focus on that, then you're not focusing on giving as much energy and attention to plan A as you need in order to make plan A work. It's just how our brains function. So, and again, I say that as a non-brain scientist, but that's just been my personal experience. So that's what I suggest. Being an entrepreneur means you are no longer dependent on someone else for your income. And so making decisions that are financial don't always necessarily need to be wrapped around whether or not you will have some implosion of your finances in the next near future. It is wise to do things that will not put you in that position, but every decision you make does not need to assume that you will have financial ruin in the very near future. You need to act as if you can create financial success instead. Otherwise, you're giving too much energy to the thought. You're like basically visualizing what it would be like to be in financial ruin, and that is not what you want to do. So if you do the thing that you need to do right now, even if it's not what you want to do, even if it's not exactly what you want, then you can make a way to figure out what you want, how to get that later, because you are a confident person. You can figure it out. You have trust in yourself. You can develop that if you don't have it at this stage. That's why I say act with confidence. At the very root, you know what you're capable of. You know your past history. You know probably where you screwed up in the past and what you could do better going forward. If you get really honest with yourself, you can most likely figure shit out. So just act with the belief that you can figure shit out and you'll be a little bit further ahead. So act with the confidence that you maybe don't feel yet, but that's going to help you reach your goals a little bit easier. Just be honest with yourself. We're not talking about denial here, but if you can act with confidence, then you can, for example, buy the computer that will work for right now, and that doesn't mean you can't buy another one for 10 years. So anyway, that was a lesson that I learned recently. I was sharing that with a fellow club member, and I just realized like, oh, that's something that I realized that would probably, like for myself in my own life, my day-to-day, that would probably help other people. And so here I am telling the whole wide world. So I hope that's helpful for you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or comment below where you had your aha moment. I always love to read those, and it also helps this channel so I can keep on producing more videos for you because I like to do these. And that's actually all I have for you in this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye!